Hi kids, welcome to Terry on Tuesday. This is part 5 of the ANDOR Thingy build. If you've been keeping up with the videos, haven't you got anything better to do? I'm doing a long distance camera thing this week to see if I can get more of the table in shot without cutting angles all the time. The only downside to that is the reverb with a bit of a echoey sound here in the kitchen of creation. Anyway, what have I been up to? Well, last week we got this together. This is the main Y shape. It was very tricky, but we're there. And since last week, I did stick an extra piece in the middle. I just traced out the shape using a piece of paper. And then transferred it to the foam and glued it in place. Now notice there are little gaps and edges here. Some of these seams will be covered, and I'll tell you what with in a bit. I might get some filler on the go with this. So this week, we're not going to do much on this, to be honest. So let's put this to one side. Blue Peter styley. 1970s Blue Peter represent. So, remember I cut 12 of these. And here they are. There's not 12 there, because the plan is to join these together to make the little swiveling legs, you know, so they kind of eat on the end of each point of the Y. So, my plan is, you'll see I've stuck a little piece here. I'm going to move the table further forward, just a bit. Because my eyesight's so bad, I can't even see the screen. Anyway, so I've stuck a little piece on there, and I did say that the offcuts from these that did go here and here, these are the offcuts. If you switch them around, the offcuts follow the curves quite nicely around here, which is what I'm probably going to use, if I can, to help support the vertical piece. Now, the plan is to cut a long strip, about 100, exactly 100 millimeters, that's 10 centimeters, to go all the way around here and back up to the top. Now, in true Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier. So there's my long strip, and as you can see, I've started to glue it to there. It's going to be bent all the way around and straight at the end again to form half of it. So what does it look like when I manage to fight with this thing, because it is quite thick and I don't have a heat gun just yet. But you can score things. You may notice I've scored it here. You can score stuff to make it bend easier. And there's a big curve here. And there's going to be another tight curve here. And then trim the end off there. So yes, I have done a half so far. And here's one I made earlier. Okay, not too bad. There's a slight wonkiness, a slight sort of bit where it doesn't quite catch, but I think with a bit of selective placing and a little bit of sanding, we should be okay. So you can see in here I've stuck some blocks at the top all the way around, but on the inside, so far, I've only used one of those offcuts right there. And it is, again, it's quite tricky and involves a lot of holding for a long time, getting things in place. I've even clamped these blocks all the way around with the little baby clamps to hold them when they're gluing, like so. But these clamps will make a dent on your foam. So what I've been doing is using the old ruler on the outside like that to clamp them together so the ruler's not digging into the foam. So, I did notice, and I have to be very careful about this, that when I cut these long strips, that I haven't cut them on an angle, because that causes all kinds of problems. So you may notice, especially around here, you'll see a lot of rough cutting there because I've had to cut off anything that sticks up too much. Now it may be that by the time I stick this piece back on here, that there may be gaps. I'm going to put a lot of weight on it as it glues and hope we don't have too many gaps. I mean, I'm going to fill the gaps anyway, but it'd be a lot nicer if I didn't have to do all this filling. So that basically glues onto there, and we've got 1 of 6 legs. They're not really legs, but that's what I'm calling them because they sort of pivot. Pivot! Shut up! Yeah. So, I think I might need some masking tape as well, because when this is being held, you'll notice that the strips here do not conform tight enough to the cut shape. They stick out at the moment, so they need to be like pushed in a bit. It may be that I have to tape these things. I was thinking of elastic bands, but they again would dig into the foam and leave some horrible things. These foam does mark quite easily, unfortunately. But one thing that's good about marking the foam, if you can see this, around the edge of this piece, you may see a slight indentation all the way around here. That's my little guideline, and all I do, because I know that the long strips are 10mm thick, I use the old thumbnail to hold it in about 10mm from the edge, and then all the way around. Just gives me a bit of a idea. Give me a bit of an idea where the side strip is going to go. Must apologise for the weird noises outside if you can hear them. There is the morning sparrow up there. This is a new family of sparrows. So when I throw bread out the window, because they don't realise the tradition of coming down to eat the bread, they just sit there and look at it. So they're a bit stupid. And also, any other weird noises you may have heard was my neighbour calling the cats. Anyway. Don't get that in the big city, do you? So I think what I'm going to do, I've got to carry on. I've just got to keep making all of these until I've got 6 of them. Now, should I stick this, or attempt to stick this together? You'll notice I'm working on 2 at a time. This one and this one. Because while you're waiting for things to dry and glue on one, you can be getting on with another, and then back and forth. Oh, I forgot to mention stuff I've got here. Went on a little shopping trip earlier. I was about to go to eBay to buy some A4 sheets of EVA foam. So it's the same stuff. It's kids create EVA foam in many different colours. Colours don't really matter. Obviously kids stuff is going to be multicoloured. They don't come in boring black and grey. I did find some A4 sheets on eBay that were reasonably priced in black, but why bother? These are very cheap. In fact, I could have bought 4 and got 1 pack free, but I only need 2 for now. So that's 8 sheets in each, that's 16 sheets, and I know I've got 2 more sheets loose upstairs. And I found this stuff was really good. It's cheap. Again, weighs nothing, and I was using this stuff, if you might remember, in my Grootmobile build. I just cut into little strips and stuck on the Groot model, and it looked like the whole bark effect. You have to check my other videos for that, for Grootmobile. Did I even do videos for Grootmobile? Wow, I can't remember. It's my fault for being completely inconsistent. But all the same, there's even an account for the Grootmobile called I Am Grootmobile. So you can see that on Instagram. Anyway, these are going to be used for extra detail. On the Y shape, let's get my picture out. This picture's falling to pieces. But on the main Y shape, there are some indentations and some squares. And my original thought was, I'll hack into it and cut them round. But A, that will make things very messy. why don't I just add a 2mm bit of height to the outside of the Y shape and just cut the detail out of these. I can cut these separately, nice and neatly, glue them all on. Job's a good one. Doesn't have much extra weight, doesn't have almost any extra weight, and looks just as good. The other thing I bought yesterday was a tube of instant filler, not silicone. Silicone is rubbery, and if you use that as filler, paint will not stick to it. Nothing sticks to silicone except other silicone. But last time I had a tube of something called instant nails, which I use for the Groupmobile, and that worked really well. I brushed it all over the foam, and it stuck, and it took paint, and it was great. Now, admittedly, I haven't tried this yet. Maybe we should try it. Shall we? Let's try it. Okay. Hey, perfect. Look at my technique. Is that not proof that I once worked at Pinewood Studios? 10 weeks. They told me there was no more work on. I think they fired me for being a cowboy. Anyway, need some more. It's nearly flush. It's nearly flush. Can't stir this stuff, unfortunately, and it's been in a cold room all night, so it's a little bit unresponsive. But this is a matte finish filler. Wow, this is not even in the slightest. Just put a little bit across there. What a lot of people do is that, which isn't bad, but you do end up with a lot on your finger. Yeah, a lot of people use water on the old filler, or spit, if you're an absolute creature like me. Nearly done. I'll just put this to one side in a bit, and then give it a rub with the sandpaper. Oh, I forgot about this bit, didn't I? Get in there, you big furry oaf. Yeah, so I've completely given up on using a bit of foam to spread it. I should get my, I've still got my little spreader from my 3D printer, which they give you. It's only a little paper paint scraper type thing, but that might be good. Okay, that'll do. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Get off me finger. Alrighty. We'll put that to one side again, and we'll come back to that at the end of the video. Remind me. I've got to finish these guys off, haven't I? Not looking forward to these. These are probably the most annoying part of the entire build. Each one of these will have a square of 140 on top, which slightly overlaps, slightly sticks out, let's do it like that, by about 10mm all around, like that. And then on top of this will be another small octagonal piece with a round piece on top. And that'll be fun to do as well. But, what we need to do is carry on forcing this to conform all the way around. Put that lid on. And do you know what? I'm running out of glue already. My Zappa Gap that I bought last week is down to its last just under a quarter. I am using a lot, but then again, I don't like things to fall apart, so I probably over glue stuff. Where one drop would do, I'll use, you know, a spoonful or whatever. Yeah. So, so cutting myself some little blocks. As the Sex Pistols used to say, never mind the blocks. And they're going to go all the way around. But now I can put the blocks on the inside of the thumbnail score mark all the way around. and as you see, it's a good guide. It's a good guide for me to work out the thing is. So the way to do this, to get it to conform, is to get it right on the, what is the inside for me. Let's just turn it around here so you can see it. Basically overbend it, because it does start working its way back. Overbend it, wait till it goes flush there, hold that down. I'm going to drop a little bit of glue in on the inside, and if you push the nozzle hard enough, the glue will seep underneath the vertical piece and hold it together. Now while you're doing that, you realise that you should have cut some smaller blocks, and it's very hard to do while you're holding. I need a third arm, basically, Beeblebrox style-y. Let's glue this on, shall we? So we've got 3 tabs here and an edge. This edge is not even in the slightest, as I told you earlier, because of the... put the lid on. I keep forgetting to put the lids on the glues. Now I've got to try and line up, because once this is on, it ain't going nowhere. Right. That's lined up. I'm going to hold this now and I can talk to you a bit longer. Anyway, I've decided that we're going to do a crowdfunder for Bloody Students. We've done a little bit of fundraising last year, and in the budget we've got about $8.5 grand, which is like fine for a short film. If you're doing a 10-minute short, that would pay for people and crew and equipment and locations and catering and stuff, and editing and everything else. But as you probably know with me, why do something short and small and unambitious when I can go completely mental and do something that would normally be a huge budget film? I'll tell you why. Because A, life's too short to be popping out 10-minute shorts, sticking them on YouTube and getting them completely ignored. B, if we'd have done a 10-minute short, which was our original plan, or a 15-minute short with Offworld, we wouldn't be here now where we've got an American distributor interested. So, features are the way. Admittedly, Bloody Students is pretty ambitious compared to Offworld. Offworld does have some effects in it, miniatures and CGI, compositing, etc. But Bloody Students has people dressed as mummies, blood and guts and gore, fight scenes, all that kind of stuff. And it's shot in a museum, which will not be a museum, but hopefully we'll get a place that looks like a museum. So again, I'm planning to do a feature. I will just briefly address, must be 2 years ago now, you may remember myself and Danny talking a lot about a film called Wow, Way Out West. That, I still believe, is the best thing I've written. I didn't get to a final first draft script, but everything was planned out, and you know, I've done treatments and stuff, and I think that's the best idea I've ever had. So why didn't you make that one? People said. I wasn't in the right place, state of mind, and I've still got a lot of stuff preventing me from doing a film like that the way I want it. So I handed that film entirely, all my work, over to Danny, who promises that she will make the film at some point. Again, it's been 2 years. I don't know if it'll ever get made, but only time will tell. It's not my responsibility to keep an eye on that. But Bloody Students, I just finished the 6th draft. I didn't think I'd need a 6th draft, but when you read it, I did a live YouTube where I was reading... Oh, that's nice. I did a live reading on YouTube a week or so ago for about 6 people watching of Bloody Students Draft 5. And when you do that, it's like when you play a record to someone that you really love, to someone who's never heard it before. You kind of hear it through their ears, and you kind of go, I wonder what they're thinking about this. And as I was reading the script, I noticed a load of things that needed tweaking. Nothing major, but some scenes are very long and they could do with cutting up or separating, and some dialogue could have been improved. So I've done those improvements and tweaks to the script, and I think the 6th draft is better. My brain's going, is this the final one? Ooh, we don't know. I hope it is. But I was reassured recently by a post on Instagram that said there's no such thing as a final draft script, because it will be changed on the day, it will be changed leading up to the day, and it will be changed in the edit. So your script is just your rough roadmap. Hang on. The problem with having this glued all the way up to about here is I can't get to the other. Oh, it's all right. There's one up there. I can just about get to them. See? Because they're under here. One there. All the way around. And this side. Okay, this is the tricky bit. Hold this all down, try and push that in. Okay, I'm putting a lot of pressure on this. It's got to hold. I don't know how long it takes a super glue to go off. On some things, no time at all, especially bits of plastic, but foam is a different beast entirely because it's porous. I know a lot of people use stuff like barge and contact cement, which is fine, but I've never really had a good time with contact cement. I don't like the idea that you've got to paste both surfaces, then leave it to get tacky and then put it together. But I am told that is the best way to do it with foam. So maybe I'll look into that on future builds, because I do have some future foam builds coming up. Right, while I'm holding this, I'm going to cut away and I'm going to come back with news on my next build after this, which I will slowly be putting together as a video or 2, maybe 3, which needs to get done this year. So let's cut. I'll be back in a bit. Right then, so my next build is a commission. Again, weirdly enough, I'm getting commissions from overseas. The Andor build is for a chap in Canada, but luckily he's coming to the UK in April, so I've got to work fast to pick it up. And my next build is for a chap in the States, which would mean sending it. It won't take too long to build, as I can get most of the pieces together. So, first thing, what is it? Well, my friend Mr. T, not the I ain't getting on no plane fool, Mr. T, but a guy I shall refer to as Mr. T, is one of our very loyal supporters for Bloody Students, keeps in touch and has put time and money into the film. I did do, was it back in August or was it, I think it was August last year, I did a thing called Win a Build, where people would make like £5 an entry, and we picked the number out random. You saw I did it live on screen, and the winner, admittedly, the more entries you go, the more chance you get to win, and the person who won was Mr. T, not Raps the T, but Mr. T, and he gave me a choice of about 6 different things he wanted to build, all helmets. So I looked at all of them, different ones, thinking, oh, which one could I do well, you know, that's not going to drive me mad, it's not going to involve like 3D printing and too much stuff. And we came up with this. What is this, you may ask? Well, this is called a Vlahurg. It's a cameo creature seen in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think it was episode 4, could be wrong. And it's a side story that explains about two warring races, the Vlhurgs and the Gaguvants. Gaguvants. Now the Vlhurgs, as you can see, are a kind of Viking-style warrior race with the helmet and the horns and the stuff. So Mr. T said to me, could you make me their Vlhurg helmet? And I'm like, yeah, because that'd be fun, because I love hitchhikers. Any person who spends over 4 years on Marvin does love hitchhikers. And yes, I'm feeling the pain of not having Marvin with me anymore. But as I've said before, the sale of Marvin put a lot of money into bloody students. Anyway, I'd rather have a film and no robot here than a robot here and not have a film to make. Anyway, so the first thing I bought for the Vlhurg, I was thinking maybe I should use some foam to make the dome for the head. And I thought, no. Imagine if you're working for the BBC or any film company or anywhere, you go the direct route. Anything you can buy that's already made, buy it. So we spent a lot of time looking at this helmet from all different angles. There's only a couple of angles visible, and because it's sort of, even the Blu-ray is not the best quality, I thought the best thing would to be a half-shell motorcycle helmet. Like this. Basically, this is a lovely thing. It looks like the top half of a stormtrooper helmet, even down to the rubber trim. But it's got a sort of strap system and a bit of padding around the back. This comes off as a zip if we need it. That's usually up there, but I'm going to keep that down, keep it out of the way. And half-shell helmets were big in the sort of 40s, 50s and 60s. Most people go for the full face helmet now, but you can still buy these. And I got this from Amazon, under 40 quid. If you want to buy a vintage one, they can go up to like £500-600 on eBay. But this is really nice. It's large. It's got a big polystyrene dome on the inside and some padding. But I'm going to leave as much of this in as possible. I'm even going to leave this on. Yes, you want me to try it on. I know you do. All right, so it looks big. It is a size large, but trust me, that's probably a good size for my heat if I wanted to go biking on it. It's got a kind of strap here and a sort of seatbelt kind of. I haven't adjusted this, so it's choking me. How do you adjust this? I do not know. Oh, here we go. Right, so a bit more. Yeah, so that goes under there like that. Having never done it before. Probably can't get it off now. Oh, and you pull that to tighten it up again. So that's a nice looking helmet, man. Could do it on your bike. It'd be good for like rock climbing or, you know, cave, what do we call it? Potholing? Spelunking? Yeah, so how do I get this off? I have no idea. It's a little, there we go. But this will make a good base for the helmet. The finish on this is amazing. It's a matte white or silk white. It's not gloss, and it's not as matte as, say, a piece of foam. It's like an eggshell. It's very much like an eggshell. It's lovely. They did come in black, and I think they came in grey as well. I just went for a basic white. It's a super nice helmet. What's the brand? Miltech. M-I-L-T-E-C. Miltech. Oh, German company. Miltech.de. You see that? Miltech.de. So, this will be the basis for the helmet. I need to find a way of attaching the crest that goes up here. It actually goes right over to the back and it comes up. I'll put the picture back up so you can see what I'm talking about. And also on the front, it's almost like a tube that will go onto the front to hold the horns. I've had some thoughts about the horns. They're going to be the trickiest part, I swear. But I've got to find a nice red paint for it. But also the red paint needs to match all the leather work, as you can see. So we decided to get some pleather or faux leather, or because I'm really old, this stuff used to be called vinide, which is a portmanteau of vinyl hide. So here it is. I bought probably 2 meters. It's probably a lot more than I need, but it was reasonably cheap. It's quite thin. It's got a nice texture on it. Look at that. Ooh, lovely texture on that. And smells nice too. So a lot of this, what I think I'm going to do, because it's white on the inside, I can double up and make it extra thick. So we'll have a big piece around the back of the helmet, and obviously at the front, underneath the mask, there are a couple of, I don't know what you call them, just strips, just studded strips. So that's a nice colour. I need to make sure that I take a sample of this with me when I buy paint for the helmet to try and get it as close as possible, but I can do some weathering and some darkening if the paint isn't right. Also, the only other thing I need to buy are the studs. So these are 20mm shank buttons. If I can get one out of the bag for you. Whoop, steady. Again, eBay. They came in 3 different finishes. Proper chrome, silver reflective chrome, a chrome gold, and this is a kind of tarnished. You can see it's not quite reflective, it's kind of dotted with something. Really nice, and they've got a little shank on the inside there, so you can use wire or whatever to fix them into the vinyl hide or the pleather, whatever you want to call it. So we don't need many of these. I think he takes 10. He needs 10. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I've got 10 here. Or was it 8? Oh, you'll see in the picture. Anyway, the only other thing then is the horns, which look to me very much like, you know, rope that you use for, you know, you see them in cinemas and museums, you got that sort of rope. I think that might be a bit heavy, but they do look like some sort of twisted papier-mâché or something. We'll think of ways to do that. My brain is constantly working on that anyway. Again, not to harp on about my suspected ADHD, it's quite an interesting thing that I solve a lot of problems just by thinking about them. I will work on something, but my brain's ticking on something else, and eventually, with enough thought, I come up with a way of doing things. Not always the right way, not always the best way or the most logical way or the most inexpensive way, but I find a way. Much like Jeff Goldblum says. So the only thing missing on the Vlhug is the face mask. Yes, it's a bit Darth Vader, isn't it? But as you can see in the picture, the face mask is pretty flat. Apart from a nose, it's a pretty flat sheet. My choice is to make it out of foam and bend a piece of foam all the way around, but I don't like the way the foam comes back, you know, has a memory and actually straightens back out unless you stick some curvy bits on the inside. So what I think I'm probably going to do, and again, not the best way, not the most logical way, is something like this. Here's my dustbin. Right, so I'm going to buy a waste paper basket, something like this. It's got a nice curve on it. I'm going to make the face mask out of cardboard, make sure it's perfect for the helmet, and then transfer that shape with the eye holes and everything else to a bin like this that's got a bit of a curve on it. This is an elliptical bin, so it's got a tight curve here and a very gentle curve here, so I could decide what curve to do. Looking at the helmet, I'm thinking I may be using the tight curve, so it will be the widest bit at the top going down across there. We shall see, but that gives me a piece of plastic that's durable, will take paint. I can drill it, I can put screws in it if I need be to fix it to the helmet. I can even Velcro it or something, because it may need to come apart for shipping. And it's already curved, it's done. So that will be cool. I might decide to cover the face mask in gold vinyl, but it looks like it was just sprayed gold according to the picture. So we'll do that. Now, I've talked far too much about this project. I meant to just say, here's a photo, that's what I'm making next. But if you like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the TV show, again, depending on your age, if you're old like me, you'll remember the TV show because it was actually funny, unlike the movie, which wasn't very funny at all, and it didn't hit the spot really for me, to be honest. But that's what I'm building next, the Vlahug Commander from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy 1981. And we're back with slightly wobbly cam. Anyway, I have finished gluing the top bit, or the other side, onto the strip, and it's not bad. There are some slightly dodgy areas, as I admit, right? So as you can see, as you might be able to see, these curves don't line up too great, especially on this side. We have a lot of sticky outy. See that? That's not great. Again, like everything, first time you do it, it's not great. Right, kids? But it's not unsalvageable. It will involve sanding and filling, and clever placement of putting the bad bits at the back and the good bits at the front. Much like my hair. So this ain't bad. This is 1 of 6. So I think it will get better, he says, and I will learn a bit more as I'm doing it, and we will get there. Now, just looking at it, the big curve is quite well done. These are the problem areas, I admit. These little curvy bits here, because it's a steeper curve. The straight bits are fine. It's all gone in quite well. I'm going to sneeze because of the amount of glue I've used. Usually I sneeze in 3s. Anyway, so that's 1 of 6. The good thing is, when I was scribing the curves, when I was marking these out in one of the earlier videos, there's still a pinhole there, which I will be turning into a bigger hole for the pivot. And it will go on the Y piece, something like this. Can you see that? There we go. I'll do it around there. Yeah. So it will pivot straight through here, and we'll have these pieces here, so you could be on program. Reasonably happy with that. I'm looking at my reference drawing down here, and I will say that I might have made a miscalculation, because there's quite a big gap here. According to the drawing, you'd think it was down like there, but then the pivots wouldn't line up. So I'm going to stick to them as they are. Unfortunately, we either live with that, or we build up this hole a little bit. I might build this up a little bit, actually. Yeah, because if it's something that you can fix quite easily, why don't you fix it? I'll show you what I'm on about now. In fact, I'll just put a picture up. So as you can see, the underside, the bottom gap underneath the leg, and the sort of almost octagonal U shape, the gap is quite short. So what I think I'm going to do, bringing back our friend the foam, I'm going to cut a piece that will fit here, and I'm going to pop it in. Obviously it'll have the same shape cut out of it, so it'll be just like a little sort of U shape. Pop that in, and it'll just bring up this edge just a tiny bit on all 3 spokes. So that will, I think, remedy the problem. And once it's covered with the thin EVA foam, which has some more cutout detail on it, you'll never know it was there anyway. So it's a fixable thing. I don't even know how I made that mistake. Unfortunately, everything I make, I do something wrong. Hence off-world. Look, I'm not blaming it, I'm just explaining it. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation. So, how did the filler work out? Well, it hasn't quite dried yet, it's still a bit powdery. I think it's going to take a good couple of hours to dry. It's a very cold room here. If it was in the warm, it'd probably go off a bit quicker. But it looks okay. It's adhering to the foam fine, and it seems to fill the gaps. It's very chalky. I hate that dry, chalky feel. But that seems to be working great. I don't even know where my tube of instant nails is. I'm sure I didn't use it all on Groupmobile, but I think it's upstairs. I'm pretty sure I didn't use it all. Like I say, I'll be using some filler on the legs, but I've got another 5 of these to make. So I think by next week I'll have had, hopefully all of these made by next week. I don't do a lot of work in the week on this thing. I do a bit, but not much. I do have a day job, you know. It's getting there. It's getting there. The good thing with foam, like I say, it's very light and it's reasonably easy to use. Once I've got the other 3 spokes on and the other 3 legs, it'll be almost finished, and it'll be a bit heavier. But I mean, you could, if this was a hat, and let's face it, it would make a very good hat. That's not even heavy. You could walk around in that for most of the day and not be in pain, right? So that shows you how light it is. Anyway, kids, this has been a long and rambling one. More talk and very little action, unfortunately. Next week, a little less conversation, a little more action. See what I did there? And join me next week when hopefully we will have some legs done. I'm not sure what next week's video will involve. Probably a bit of sanding and filling. But again, because it's foam, it's a quick go over with the mini sander, the mini mouse, and a little bit more of this white filler. And we may, depending on how much I've done, may start looking at detail pieces. Anyway, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching. Likey and subscribey. I can't remember if I finished telling you about Bloody Students, but you can always go to bloodystudents.co.uk or the Bloody Students Instagram to keep in touch with whatever's going on there. So, final look at that. It's all right. It's all right. Make it work. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care now. Bye-bye then.